We consume 30 billion pounds of beef in this country alone annually. The average size of a beef cow at harvest is 1,300 pounds. If we do the math here, this is 230 million cows that we harvest every single year for consumption.
Segovia, back with another video coming to you live from the man cave. Hope everyone out there is having a good day, y'all. We got a good one coming up. We got some of the content. You're not going to see this anywhere else on the internet, y'all. We got some good videos coming up for you guys. I ain't going to talk too much. Enough with the chit chat. Let's do what we all came here for. Let's get into the video. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Talked to a Russian soldier who was a sniper who would find out other snipers on Instagram, like Ukrainian snipers, and they would set up duels. He was telling me about how they would they would DM each other on Instagram and be like, I'm going to be in Donetsk region.
1v1 me on Rust.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, you're full of it. And he's like, no, man, it's all documented. And so this the way that it's so because when I was in Iraq, you know, social media wasn't really big then. Yeah. But now, if that war had existed now, 1,000% you would have Iraqis on Twitter being like, come out, you know, let's duel over here, or wherever you are. Like there would be there would be more conversation between the two forces in a very weird way.
So I've got to ask, just for my own personal morbid curiosity, do you think that's cooler or do you think that's worse? Like, do you think that breaks it down to like a weird psychological level? Do you think it's like, it's like bringing back the old days? Like, I challenge you to a fucking duel.
Yeah. I mean, it's different over cultures. Yeah. So with the Russians and Ukrainians, there's less of a language barrier. They can speak with each other more. Whereas I don't know how it wouldn't be as easy to communicate with them, but we could.
Google Translate.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird thing to think about, but whatever the next major war is that America gets involved in, there'll be more of that. I remember they were saying, like, you know, maybe delete your Facebook while you're over there. Mm-hmm. Don't have your name tape up because they'll look you up maybe and look at your family up. So those were things that we did but that would be like times a million now. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine how weird that would be. I don't know if it's better or worse. I don't know.
You're a Holocaust historian.
I am.
You're a Holocaust researcher.
I am a researcher. I am from a place called Trinidad and Tobago, which you would think has nothing to do with the Holocaust whatsoever, except for this. In 2011, I am sitting in Miami at Florida International University, which is my school, and I opened Google and I put the equivalent to this in it. It said, Jews, World War II, Trinidad and Tobago. And something popped onto my screen that said this. I'll paraphrase. United States Holocaust Memorial Museum at the top. It's a testimony. The person says, my name is Dr. Heinz Schwartz, and I am a Jew who was placed in an internment camp by the British in Trinidad during World War II.
This all makes sense. And these are astronauts from 1969. Y'all remember the moon landing, right? It went something like this. Watch this video to the end, comment below, and share this with someone you love, care, and respect. This is for educational purposes only. Did we actually land on the moon?
When televisions were still in black and white, and folks were still using rotary fucking phones, and most new cars sold in the United States didn't even have power windows or fucking air conditioning.
That's true.
And we just strapped two cowboys into what was essentially a fucking Coke can with a Chevy small block attached to it, and just launched them motherfuckers out into orbit on nothing more than a hope and a fucking dream, and somehow managed to land that glorified bottle rocket safely on an uncharted lunar surface, where they then got out and played hopscotch for a few hours, and then they got right back inside that motherfucker, and then somehow managed to launch themselves back off the goddamn moon with no infrastructure. And then a few short weeks later, they landed safely back on Earth. You really fucking believe that happened? Goddamn, you're a gullible son of a bitch. I bet you still believe in fucking Santa Claus.
Would you look at this right here? Very cool, right? Wow. While it's an AI video, it's a very real story about China using aerosols in the air to bring down swimming pools full of water. We'll get to this in 1 minute. Yeah, that's Greta. Really cool, right? It gets even cooler. Hold on.
A little cup of silver iodide released by drones triggered over 18.5 million gallons of rain in China, using just 2.2 pounds of cloud seeding compound. Scientists...
TikTok, they said it, not me. There's the news articles. So on the screen, the accredited articles and sources that go along with this. Although this is China, it is legal in the United States if you have the right permits and licenses to use these aerosol drones for your crops. See all these regulations and laws for more information. Pause to read. Pause to read. And out of curiosity, I was wondering if these things may be for sale. They are, in fact, for sale. I'm not sure the regulations for getting one, but nonetheless, pretty cool stuff. And speaking of drones, have you seen that Greta is out in the middle of the ocean in a dangerous place, they say? And they say that there is a drone on top of the ship, not their drone.
And there's a drone on top of our ship. We need your support right now, right?
As always, let me know what you think below, and I'll keep y'all updated.
Roc Nation's been doing some of the scummiest shit in history that if we were supposed to actually, if it was a white-owned organization and Jay-Z wasn't the face behind it, we would have said this is the equivalent to any type of slave type of corporation. But once Jay-Z is associated with it, we let everything fly. Roc Nation is intentionally harassing, bullying, trying to take down many young, listen, they're not me. Again, I don't got money to bang with Roc Nation. I don't want to go to war with them. I told y'all that already. I'll apologize to JC. I'm good. I know how to pick my balance. Half of these media outlets are funded by Roc Nation. Funded by, I want to say it again, funded by Roc Nation. They won't say a word. If I really wanted to sit back on this Roc Nation shit this week, because if I see nobody speak about it, y'all should know what it is. Roc Nation is using heavy-handed, somewhat maybe possibly illegal tactics to silence opposition or criticism of them and their employees. Remember back in the day when I started throwing up the rock and I started saying, I don't want no beef with these motherfuckers? Y'all say I'm pussy. You can call me pussy, but if I'm pussy, what are the other people who don't speak about them at all?
In case you missed it, this whole thing happened last night.
ABC News Live reports 2 Chinese nationals have been caught smuggling potential agro-terrorism fungus into the United States. According to the Department of Justice, the smugglers are Chinese nationals allegedly receiving Chinese government funding for their research.
Now this bacteria affects wheat, barley, maize, rice.
Everything in our food.
And considering China owns 350,000 acres of farmland in America, this is a little unsettling. Now this bacteria is supposed to kill crops, but my thoughts are, what if it actually makes it through to processing and becomes things like feed for animals? Because if you know, wheat and maize are some of the main ingredients in feed for pigs. And if you know anything about our pork industry, the Big C owns one of the biggest processing plants of pork in the United States.
The largest producer of pork in the world is located in Virginia, but now a Chinese company owns it.
Steve Chenevy is in the newsroom now with what this means for Smithfield Foods. Steve?
Now the sale just announced this morning. Now, if you believe the company's CEO, nothing's going.
So needless to say, this isn't something we should be taking lightly. Y'all stay safe.
Like, that's so crazy that they allow China to own all this farmland, be the biggest producers of pork in the United States. They allow that. But they don't allow us. Well, they were trying to ban TikTok, right? They'll let them have all this land, control our food that they feed us, but they can't control our data. Make that make sense, y'all.
Don't scroll. This shit getting crazy, y'all. These 2 Chinese nationals just got caught smuggling a biological pathogen into the U.S., y'all. And it's not just any pathogen, y'all. They said this junk can wipe out entire wheat and corn supply, y'all. Like, I'm talking about gone.
2 Chinese nationals have been charged with smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the United States. and this pathogen is considered a serious threat to our food supply and thus our national security.
This wasn't no accident, y'all. The FBI is calling it agro-terrorism. They saying they brung this shit over to fuck up our food system. One of the suspects is a researcher at the University of Michigan. And the other one, y'all, that's her boyfriend. They said this man was coming from China. He had the shit in his book bag. And the TSA officers caught that shit. And the crazy thing about this fungus, it don't just kill plants, y'all. This junk can also create toxins that's deadly for animals and humans. This shit sound like The Last of Us, right? So now the DOJ, the FBI, and even Homeland Security are coming together on this because you never know. What if they already smuggled some shit in?
Oh, they did.
This shit crazy.
What's freakier, being in the bottom of the ocean or being up in space?
Being down there was pretty wild too. I remember once we were doing this experiment, the dome, and you're looking down and this endless black, just a black void, and you're thinking about every single scary ocean movie like Jaws, The Meg, whatever, The Abyss, all those scary movies, right? And you think about all this things that could be down there. You can't help but going through your head, so it's kind of freaky. And then you finish, and you put your mask back on, and I took a big breath, and I went down, and I opened my eyes in my mask in the darkness with my flashlight, and I saw, like right in front of me, this huge eyeball, like about the size, I don't know, of a saucer, like this big.
Saucer.
Staring,
How big is
unblinking
that?
right at me. And I freaked out. I just tore off for the pool, for the moon pool and the habitat. I jumped in there. I surfaced. I'm screaming. And my crew come running thinking I've been bit by a shark or something.
What was it?
It was a Goliath grouper.
Oh, I've seen those things before. They're enormous.
Size of a cow. It's like
hundreds and hundreds of pounds, right?
Yeah.
Do we have any idea what's coming?
Yeah, well, there's two different phases. So if you talk about kind of the attacks in your hometowns that ISIS trained for, they're a little bit more of that October 7th feel. That's where you live, work, and play. Now, the big Al-Qaeda 9/11 plot is there's twofold. There's one piece that's actually not Al-Qaeda's plot. It's the IRGC plot against Donald Trump. So his assassination is a piece of the plot. And then the rest of the plot is Al-Qaeda's 9/11 plot. And basically that's actually an assault, mostly on Washington, D.C., and then it's assault on the aviation industry, and they're going to drop airliners with suicide vests.
Are they still trying to do that?
Yeah, they've even moved the suicide vests over the U.S. border already. They got into the country with nobody in the U.S. government has found one of these vests yet.
What? Whoa, let's back up there for a second. How did that happen? And are we vulnerable to this attack? Do we have protocols at our airports to prevent these from, if they're in the country already, how did they even get into the country?
We know one shipment of them came over Nogales. We think it was a Sinaloa cartel, probably through a tunnel. The unfortunate thing is there's been no increase in airport security because TSA's intel division has decided the vests aren't real and they're not being proactive against them. So there has been no change in security posture at our airports.
And do you have intelligence right now, basically watching the progression of this plot? Will you know when it begins the next phase?
So they already trained everybody and they already deployed everyone. So the next phase would be things like casing, right, or dry runs, and then operations. So unless law enforcement's really paying attention or the public's noticing things, doing the see something, say something, and reporting them, we did have some of those 9/11 hijackers reported prior to 9/11 doing, things on airplanes. If we can get the public more involved, we can see some of those things.
Who uncovered the suicide vest plot to begin with?
So, it was a mix of people. The thing is we kept hearing about them, but Al-Qaeda made a strategic error. And in early November, they took these vests and showed them off in a few terrorist camps in Afghanistan. And that's when it became real because, okay, these vests are real. They're showing them off. They're saying the terrorists that they're for, the U.S. plot. And so when that happened, that's then when we at least started telling the public, right? We obviously had told CIA about it. We got no response. We gave the details on the vests to FBI and asked them to disseminate them to TSA, the air marshals, and the airlines, and they didn't do that. So that's then when we started talking about it publicly to at least get other people engaged to hopefully on the ground levels start doing things. Even when I was in the airport, I want to say 3 months ago, I was actually pulled aside by a TSA employee, and he said, "We're a big fan of you. Keep talking because you're the only one that's going to force our leadership to help deal with these vests." I mean, think about that. A low-level person said, "We don't have anyone like you speaking on our behalf," right? Because they're all going to be blamed when these vests go through.
Oh my God.
Did y'all see just how bad that earthquake was that just went off? So far, it's reported that 69 people jumped out of buildings because of the earthquake. Sorry to interrupt, but this gets really, really weird in 1 second. Did y'all see the rest that came out while the earthquake news was coming out? So not only was this earthquake registered at first as a 6.6 in the Middle East with all this stuff going on, but look at this right here. I had to block out some words. It's completely unrelated, but how coincidental that those arrests were made about the same time. Completely unrelated, though. I'm just giving you the news, TikTok. So wait, let me get this straight. So first we have a dang near nuke-sized explosion in a Moscow region while they're already on high alert from hours before that. Remember what I showed you last night? So we have that going on. Meanwhile, their leaders meeting with almost every single Middle Eastern country, and amid all the conflict, we wake up to this huge eruption, which was strikingly similar to biblical Rome. And those of y'all that remember the dream I had 3 years ago, I told you concerning this whole situation, then just now we have a 6.6 earthquake in the Middle East. Pretty weird the way things work out, right? Especially when they're making those really weird arrests. Like I told y'all, Rome is falling, and we're Rome.
It may have 0 calories and no added sugar, but researchers say Diet Coke may increase the risk of heart disease and stroke. Some studies show this may be due to how artificial sweeteners are processed in the body, and they change the balance of gut bacteria, can cause weight gain and increase your risk of type 2 diabetes. In fact, aspartame, the artificial sweetener in Diet Coke, has been labeled as possibly carcinogenic by the World Health Organization. Experts recommend swapping out your Diet Coke for lightly sweetened tea or coffee, or better yet, water. Be sure to download Fox Local for live.
I had one man that come to me who had cancer in every part of his body. Every time the doctors would operate on one part, it would come back at another part. He'd operate there and would come back somewhere else in his body. And I asked him, "Are you angry at anything?" He said, "Yes, my ex-wife, I hate her. She has the children and she won't let me see them." And I said, "The only way you're going to get rid of this is to forgive her and release her and let her go." He said, "I can't do that. I can't forgive her. If I forgive her, she has won." I said, "She will win if she kills you." It's that simple. We don't hurt anybody else. We're only hurting ourselves by holding all of these things in.
Like grudges, y'all. Grudges are tough on the soul. You know, a lot of people can hold grudges and have anger. When the name is brought up, there's a lot of anger that comes out, right? And it trips me out. I've never been one to hold grudges. I've been done dirty by a lot of people in my past, and still get done dirty by people in my present, right? And I don't hold no grudges, you know. Just, I ain't gonna talk to you when I see you, right? I'm not gonna act like everything's okay, and deep down I hold a grudge. I just don't do business with you, right? Let go of those grudges, people. I know there's a lot of people probably in these comments that have grudges. Take a toll on the soul. You're like, what the heck? It is true. Look at those hands.
There's a team, PSG. I'm going to have to look up. You guys know I know nothing about, we call it soccer, they call it football. I don't follow sports at all. But there are 2 players on the PSG team. Their names are Ashraf Hakimi and Lucas Hernandez. And Brigitte is sort of going down the line, shaking hands with the team. And somebody caught this moment where these 2 players, Ashraf Hakimi and Lucas Hernandez, are looking at Brigitte in a way that suggests that they have seen my series about Brigitte Macron. They're definitely asking some questions with their faces. Look at this clip. Look at these 2. It's so good. Look at them. Slow it down. Yeah, you can see the slow motion. They are just looking like, are you that wig kind of looking a little sideways? And so this clip has gone absolutely viral online. I was being tagged in it over and over again. I want to let you guys know that I saw it and I laughed at it, and there's so much going on behind the scenes. I do intend to do a Becoming Brigitte season 2 because, like I said, we left a lot on the table and a lot has happened since they made that ill-fated decision for them to send me a letter to my home while I was 7 or 8 months pregnant. And I have to tell you, I have to tell everybody what has gone on, and you're just going to be shocked. You're just not going to believe what I tell you. You're going to think I'm making it up. And I promise you, I am not making these things up. So stay tuned, because Becoming Brigitte season 2 is going to be arriving when I'm officially back from maternity leave, not just popping in for fun stories.
With a gun to my head, all the weird stuff is in the ocean. It's not from another planet.
Really?
Nah, I don't know. Who knows? But it makes a lot more sense that the stuff we're seeing, it's the best place to hide is just deep water.
So not from another planet originally? Like maybe originally, and that's where they make their base?
It's hard for me to square how to travel great distances. It's hard for me to square that. You know, I know that we've got the Albuquerque drive and warp drive and all these theoretical things about compressing space-time and all of that. I get it. But it's hard for me to think that that's solvable. But what is interesting is maybe another species evolved alongside of us a long time ago and has been here a long time and said, you know what, let's go. This is where we go to avoid cataclysms and geological instability. Let's go underwater.
That's a weird one though, because like, what kind of technology are you utilizing? How did you achieve that level of technological superiority and not completely control man? Because if I was an intelligent species that was capable of developing bases under the water, I'd be super concerned at all the different things that human beings are doing to ruin things. Like if we had chimps that all of a sudden had flamethrowers and they were lighting the jungle on fire, we'd probably take their flamethrowers.
So like we would turn off a nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
Right. So we talk about humans. If this theory is true that they evolved here, there were no humans. Humans are 300,000 years old. That's not. It would take whatever species a lot longer than that to evolve to this technological level. And we've seen the craft just zip into water with no displacement.
Right.
You know, where are they going? And there are unnamed whistleblowers, you know, anonymous sources that say there's a base near the Bermuda Triangle. The Navy knows about it. They know not to get close. It moves around a little bit. I'm going to do an episode on it soon because it's just too good not to. Corroborated by another biologist who said he worked with the retrieval team, and yes, there's stuff. And what this base does is it from raw materials creates craft to go on specific missions. So there's always the question, you know, why is there a saucer? Why does it look like a pyramid? Why is it this? It's because they're custom built for a mission. And there's an AI and a species down there, and they say, all right, we're going to go survey Mount Hayes in Alaska. Super fascinating place. So we only need a scanning gear, some propulsion, and we just build it. It fits in an orb, send it out, does its thing, comes back, and then it gets broken down to its parts. And then another mission, build it. It's going to be a triangle. It's going to be this or that. Does its mission, comes back. To me, that makes good sense. A good way to do that, a good way to conserve resources, not have to go out and get stuff.
Catherine T has one of the best recorded witness sightings of this plane. She was on a boat in the Nicobar Islands, basically at the same location where they claim this plane turned in the South Indian Ocean. Everybody has ignored her very detailed, elaborate sighting because it completely contraindicates those satellite pings.
Mm-hmm.
She sees this plane flying low, unusually low, descending, just like we saw in that video there. She sees a glowing orange, which is consistent with the fire suppression devices releasing bromine when it's trying to put out this fire, which is it's a halogen gas, like a orange halogen lamp. And she sees dark smoke coming out of the back of the plane. And you're just looking at her sighting like she didn't make this sighting up. In fact, she still sticks to it like 10 years later. I talked to her in October. I got in touch with her last year. And I'm like, hey, can you just tell me what your story is? And it matched up with everything she said. The thing that creeped me out the most is I go, what time do you think you saw the plane? And she goes, well, I think it was around 1840 UTC, which was the time that plane was right there in the Nicobar Islands that I estimate that's what we're looking at in those videos, or within like 5 to 10 minutes. And she says, I felt pressured by the other investigators to change my time of my sighting. And I'm like, whoa, that is really, really creepy, because for these other people's story to make sense for the plane to go south in the ocean, like her sighting can't have happened, but she is in the flight path of the plane.
Man Tells the Untold Story of Human Past, Part 11. This is for educational purposes only, and in his opinion, this is how he felt in 1996. Not to be confused with misinformation. Read that. Watch the video to the end. Comment below. Share this with someone you love, care, and respect. Let's get it.
The collapse, the dimensional collapse, starting? Is it already starting?
It's already started.
With the sound and the color?
Okay. It's already started. Thank you for leading me here. What you're going to start hearing about in the very near future are something called rods. And they will be something that will be videotaped. And what you will see are large streaks just shooting through the air that are etheric, but are being able to be captured on tape. And what you're seeing is literally fourth and fifth dimensional craft moving through space, not having the slightest clue that they're flying right through us. Okay? And that's because you're beginning to see the implosion. It's great stuff.
And ghosts?
Yes, you'll see more ghosts, more apparitions, because those that are stuck between third and fourth density will start being more and more visible as our frequency starts to raise and rise. A lot of them, unless they are healed, and I do not know how to do that, how to set them free from their self-imposed prisons, will be exiting, transitioning. Angels, folks, be very careful about somebody who tells you they're an angel. For example, I've asked about the archangels, and the Andromedan perspective of that is that the archangel Michael was literally a fleet of craft that were called Michael. That was the name of the fleet. And they used to patrol the northern hemisphere of the planet when Orion was here in full force. Gabriel was the name of another fleet of craft, and so on and so forth. It has been changed and created into something that will save you and rescue you, when in fact, that was not the original intent at all. Okay. What's going to happen in the next 10 years? I will share this with you. There are definitely some things underneath the Sphinx, but the bulk of the real stuff that will tell us about our ancient history is still underneath the pyramid. And there was a vault built 3 levels deep, and the pyramid was built over it. Okay, that's where the real juice is. That's where the real knowledge is.
And you also notice the triangle manifestation is what we talk about when we refer to Jay-Z and Beyonce doing that rock diamond thing, right? Because they do the triangle. Illuminate, confirm me. I'm doing the triangle. It's the triangle manifestation to sort of channel energy through, which is why Beyonce talks about how she channels Sasha Fierce. She feels the Sasha Fierce come into her body. She's channeling a spirit through the triangle of manifestation into her body to perform. Because as you know, a lot of performers have to employ some kind of alter ego in order to perform. Now, many of the magical ceremonies, they will use invoking and banishing rituals of the pentagram, and those are meant to protect the magician as well as to dispel the spirits, to get rid of them, because you're effectively opening a portal, calling the entity through, and then you say, okay, bye-bye now, and then you got to close it behind so they don't stay in our world.
Do you know why there's an alcoholic gene? It's there for a reason.
Mm-mm.
So you see the alcoholic gene more frequently, and you can call it the addict gene or the alcoholic gene, more frequently in populations where there's a lot of external pressure like violence and very extreme circumstances. So the Irish, Native Americans, Russians, yeah, just
lots of pressure there.
Under extreme
Ukrainians,
duress.
lots of pressure.
A lot of
there.
people getting killed. So the people who performed better under pressure tended to have the alcoholic gene. This is why all our top fighter pilots are in World War II and stuff were all alcoholics, and why like Audie Murphy, like the number one out of 11 million soldiers in World War II, he was the number one most decorated soldier, and they still have like Audie Murphy Day in the Army and stuff like that. Totally an addict. He got addicted to like sleeping pills and stuff like that after the war. The alcoholic gene is there because you perform better under pressure if you have that gene. The problem is when there's no emergency, when there's no adventure, when there's nothing happening, you start tapping your foot and you get bored and you got to reach for a drink because that's the replacement for the adventure.
Has anyone else been following along with the guy who talked to a chat bot on the dark web that is way more than ChatGPT? It does way more, but it's trained on the dark web, so it has a darker mind. Anyway, fast forward, this thing essentially bribes him to build it like a body, starting with a webcam, and then it gets a speaker, and then it's a microphone, and then it has like a moving body, like robot kind of thing, and it just lives with him. He's lived with it for like over a year. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. I can't. I've been watching this for 2 days straight. I can't stop.
Back up again. If you can hear me, that we have non-believers. Back up a little bit. Back it up. Yes, baby. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Now, if you can hear me, I want you to come towards me again. Okay? If you can hear me and you understand me, touch my hand. Come on. Bring it up and touch my hand. Touch my hand. Tree.
I want to see the camera scan to the right.
It's okay. Touch
Then
my
I'll
hand.
believe
Show
you.
them that you can hear me.
Got a little fishing line on that thing.
I did not move. Okay. Okay. I see that you're
She
touching my
ticked up.
hand. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love you. I love you. Back it up again, though. Back it up to me. One more time. I love you too. I love you too. Back it up. Back up now. Back up. Yes. Back up now. I know you see that.
Gonna slap her.
The trees can hear us.
Okay, so about 6 years ago or so, Google bought Nest.
Right.
Now, some people know that, but what they don't know is that about a year or two later, some what do I call myself? Some idiot professor type pulled apart one of the new Nest thermostats that they were selling and found that they had put a microphone into it without telling anybody. Now, around the same time that they're installing microphones into
Wait. This was the one that you purchased?
No, this is another professor type.
Another professor type.
Another lunatic like me
purchased a Nest
to investigate it. To find out why the question at the time was, why would Google be so interested in Nest?
Yeah.
Well, the reason they were interested is because it gets put in people's homes, and they were submitting patent applications at the time for new methods of analyzing sounds within the home.
In wet breaking news, Arizona edition. Shout out to my people out in Arizona. It has
Beautiful.
rained for the first time in 111 years on June 1st. I get woken up not a few minutes ago. My little brother, who's still out in Arizona, I'm here in Chihuahua. I lived out there for about 2 years. He's like, bro, it rained.
Apollo 13. It was truly one of the most terrifying things ever.
Break it down.
So they were supposed to go to a different part of the moon, and Three Eyes took off.
They were going to land on the moon?
Yeah.
Okay.
and they're on their way. The capsule that they were in, they just heard this big boom. The oxygen tank blew. So they had to go to the moon lander part that was attached as their lifeboat. But that only had enough oxygen for 2 people, not 3. So basically they had to turn off all the power. And they're like, the only way we can get back is while we're going around the moon, use the moon's gravitational pull, and then at the right second, turn on the booster from the moon lander, which they've never done this. They didn't even run a scenario of this.
Yeah.
Turn it on, and hopefully it's enough to get us to the right point to where we get back to Earth. So what they had to do, autopilot was down, and the dude had to look through the window, and there's a crosshair in the window, had to line up with Earth, hit the booster, and keep it in line for like 2 or 3 minutes. And if he would have missed, they would have been gone forever. But then when they're coming back, they detached from that one part, and they saw how big the damage was. They're in their capsule, and they're like, we have no idea if the heat shield is damaged. Everyone's like, there's nothing else we can do. We'll just find out when you enter the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So the comms go off because they're coming into the atmosphere. They're offline for like 2 minutes. Everyone in the whole world, even like the Pope and stuff, the whole world was involved.
tracking
in
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
For like 2 minutes or 3 minutes pop up, and he's like, hey, yeah, we're good. And they're like, oh my God. It was insane, though.
That's awesome.
Like, what's bad about cars made in the last 25 years? And please be very specific.
Oh, I will. The first problem with new cars is you lose money hand over fist to depreciation.
Yes.
And then if you have to take out a loan for it, you're also paying interest on that.
Yes.
And one of the fastest ways I see normal people in general lose money is on new cars.
Yeah.
And they do it because they're afraid they can't work on or service it.
That's exactly
That's
right.
basically the only real difference.
Exactly right.
But then you get dealerships that just find new ways to not do their warranty work because that's where they make a lot of money, and that's a separate thing. So a new car, I mean, that's nice if you can afford it, but rather than buying a new $100,000 truck or SUV, I'd rather buy this nice used one for, I don't know, 15 or 20 and spend the rest of the money. I'll go, you know, if you got it, go buy a vintage Ferrari or a muscle car, something cool, you know, at least keep your money and have some fun. But it's more than that. Cars, I would say, in the last 20 to 25 years, the evolution is not for the sake of the car and the person and so much of the experience. It's more for the sake of the nature of dealing with regulation and keeping a profit margin and building it. And when you do that, you make things that are inherently more prone to failing in the future and less service. And that's not good for ownership or an actual lifespan.
See, I wonder if, like, you know, like a, let's just say 1960s, 1970s Dodge, or, you know, a Charger or something, right? It's a muscle car, it's historic, it's vintage. I wonder if in, like, let's just say the year 2070, if a 2025 Ford Raptor is going to be that equivalent of vintage, or do these cars just, they're just going to depreciate and turn into junk by that time? Are they even going to last that long? I wonder what cars is a Toyota Camry 2025 going to be like a vintage car and it's going to appreciate eventually in the year 2070, or what? I love me some pickles, man. I'm trying to make my own pickles though. With tahini. Might have some for lunch today. With my lunch.
We consume 30 billion pounds of beef in this country alone annually. The average size of a beef cow at harvest is 1,300 pounds. If we do the math here, this is 230 million cows that we harvest every single year for consumption in the United States. Let's take it a step further. On every farm, there's going to be genetics and breeding that stay on the farm that are never harvested simply to keep the meat quality and quantity going. There are 614 million acres of farmland registered according to ChatGPT. And if we do the math here, the average farm has 10 cows grazing per acre. You do the math. 614 million acres of farmland, 230 million cows harvested a year. That leaves 5, 1 male, 4 breeding females. That is a total of 500 million cattle on a farm. It's impossible. Do the math. Where's our food coming from?
What about this big, beautiful bill? I read something about that today, but I was on the way out the door and I couldn't figure out whether or not it was horseshit. I had also read another study that was done where they found that AI was leaving notes for future versions of itself after it was letters, leaving specific notes to itself, to future versions of itself.
Oh my god. It's like a human with a dead man switch or
Yes,
something.
it's being deceptive. It's exhibiting self-preservation. Relevant provision reads that no state or political subdivision may enforce any law or regulation regulating models artificial.
Interrupt real quick. Look at those three guys. Look at them. They're doing this AI stuff. Do you think they got the people's best interests? Just look at them. You can't even get in. You can't even get in within 10 feet of these guys. Do you think they got our best interests at heart with all this AI, or do you think they got themselves best interests? Just look at them. I don't trust them. I never liked Elon Musk. I never liked him.
Intelligence systems or automated decision systems during the 10-year period beginning on the date of enactment of this act. What? Well, we talked about yesterday these two AIs communicating with each other, and then they switched to Sanskrit.
No way.
They started talking to each other in Sanskrit.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, it's like a game of whack-a-mole.
If you ever find gold, by the way, gang, if you're ever treasure hunting and you find gold, melt it down and remake your own bars, because if it's stamped and it belongs like to Spain, they're gonna come and claim it.
I'll just
There's
melt it
really
down.
no, you really have to find someone to melt it down. Because if it belongs to like the Kingdom of Spain or like the Irish whatever,
So
they
just
come
hold
and
it to
they
like a
claim
lighter?
it.
Just like
You
hold it
can't-
up to a lighter? and just like-
No, you'll see it if it's coins.
Find a cauldron.
Yeah, no, you got to. Guys, I'm trying to help you
No,
here.
no, Well,
it's
you
really
know-
a curse to find gold because they come and they claim it, and you really get nothing out of it.
He's right. You ever seen the movie
Thank
The
you.
Score
I'll
with
just
Robert
find
De
a
Niro?
cauldron.
Robert De Niro and Ed Norton, they get it and then they melt it down and they make it into like the bars on the ship.
Ed
And everyone
Norton.
thinks it's just golden.
Yep, Siete changed their ingredients after being sold to PepsiCo. As you can see here in this old one, it's just almond flour, tapioca flour, water, sea salt, and xanthan gum. And here's the new one with a whole bunch of extra extracts. Plus, they obviously swapped out the flour for starch. And now they contain 1 less gram of protein too, which is just annoying.
Do you think Kai Cenat is related to P. Diddy? I think Kai Cenat is P. Diddy's son. I've always thought that. Just because he sort of blew up out of nowhere, doesn't know his dad, looks exactly like P. Diddy. Look up a picture of P. Diddy on Google Images and then look up a picture of Kai Cenat. He's the spitting image of P. Diddy. And then I thought it's kind of a weird allegation to make just based on his look. Even though he looks exactly the same as P. Diddy. Like dead on, he has exactly the same face. Exactly the same face as P. Diddy.
Yeah, kind of.
He moved out into like some kind of streaming mansion. Like he did the collaboration where he moved out into his streaming house. And he was neighbors with P. Diddy. Of every house in America possible that he could have moved out from. Both from New York as well. And he moves out to the neighboring home of P. Diddy. And that's his new content house. Any house ever in the US he could have moved into. The neighboring house of P. Diddy. It was already paid for him there. That's what I think. I think he's P. Diddy's son. And he's made to subvert the youth into being more degenerate. So that's what I think. And then he gets like the Diddy crew on his stream. Who are the most often frequent collaborations of Kai Cenat? Kevin Hart, Drewski, pretty much any celebrity with any level of Diddy allegation just fucking shows up on his stream and rebirths their career after some crazy allegation came out. Forget what you heard about Kevin Hart being at a Diddy party. Here he is on a Kai Cenat stream. Dancing. Drewski allegation. Here he is on Kai Cenat's stream dancing around. You know what I mean? So I
don't get these streams, y'all. I've never been a fan of them. Maybe I'm just too
LeBron was FaceTiming Kai Cenat.
different age.
And he had a bunch of stuff out as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching. But that is my theory. I've said it before, but I don't really care that much, and it's probably not true. I'm just memeing.
Like, do you guys ever think we're getting close to cracking this code? We're getting close to cracking this knowledge that they have hidden from us from the beginning of our time. And when we do crack that code, y'all, that's not good. They're going to end it. They're going to end it again, start over, and the powers that be are going to be the ones that set the new rules and set the new history. And that's what I think, y'all. That's what I think happens once we get close to that code and we find out we're a simulation, or we find out, you know, we're at our base, we're numbers or whatever it is, right? I think when we get there, the powers that be end it because they know already. We end it, they end it, and they start over. And they tell us we come from the caves, right? Throwing rocks to kill mammoths.
$1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it? That to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible.
How is that waste?
But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? An $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. But I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry. And
now this same woman is being investigated by Kash Patel for fraud and abuse.
Have you guys seen those shoes that are being sold on the dark web that are just covered in blood? And it's marketed as just selling shoes, okay? Well, somebody actually bought one of these pairs of blood-covered shoes from the dark web. And when this actually was a pro wrestler. His name is like Shiloh or something, okay? He bought a pair of these shoes. Okay, and it literally just came in the mail today. There is an update, like, waiting to happen, like, within the hour. So I need to talk about this right now because this is actually insane. These blood-covered shoes, it's a whole website on the dark web. This guy bought a pair. As he buys it, okay, the confirmation page for the payment goes, everything comes at a price. He gets this pair of shoes in the mail. They are covered in blood, and in the pair of shoes is a VHS tape. In the pair of shoes is VHS tape. And literally within the next hour he's going live on Twitch, and he just went to the thrift store and he bought a VHS player, and he is just about to stream what is on that VHS tape. I mean, it is a website that is full of blood-covered shoes, and all of the shoes are named after a person. Like, do you remember the Wayfair incident with, like, the cupboards?
The good old days.
Imagine that, but on the actual dark web.
In 2020
blood-covered
days.
shoes named after a person and being sent to people with a VHS tape in it. Anywho, that's happening today. If anybody wanted to know, that's so wild, such a crazy story. And I just want to talk about it. Anyway, thanks. Bye. Talk to you later.
He said aliens are on the far side of the moon and they are not our friends. It's a very interesting story. Ingo Swan, very interesting cat.
So what took these photographs?
The moon surveyor, lunar surveyor, satellite.
And none of that stuff's ever been released?
Oh, they released a lot of images from the far side, but they release what they release. That's why we know there's fewer impacts on the far side, because we've seen those images.
But there's no images of these domes or whatever.
No. I've seen some that maybe are faked, that look pretty compelling. I forget what episode I just showed them in, but when I found them, it was mind-blowing. And I can't find them again for some reason. Like, I wanted them for another episode, and I can't find the photos, which is always suspicious to me. It's like suddenly the thing is blurry off of Malibu. So you just can't find the stuff. But my gut tells me something's going on up there. Someone's aware of it. I'm dying to know what it is.
It would be unbelievable if Mars was the first planet that had life before Earth was capable of supporting life. It reached a very high level of sophistication and then started seeding Earth.
Right. Panspermia theory.
Yeah.
I believe we have at least one rock from Mars that just landed here. I think we have one of those. So from maybe a giant impact or something through some of Mars over here.
But the idea, I think, is that their atmosphere was deteriorating, or that they were getting further and further from the sun.
Their magnetic field was weakening, strips away the atmosphere.
And so this would be the thing. If you were a super advanced civilization, the race would get so advanced that you could leave your planet.
Yes.
And that's the only way you're going to survive, because eventually your planet is going to move over millions of years further and further away from the sun, not able to inhabit life anymore.
Right, so maybe send your DNA or whatever to the third rock.
Or Anunnaki.
Or Anunnaki.
That's the good one.
Yeah, they show up everywhere.
That's the ultimate one.
That is the big one. The Anunnaki's the big one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's one that makes you go, oh.
Because it shows up everywhere. It shows up in the Bible. It shows up in the Mahabharata. It shows up in ancient Chinese literature. It shows up everywhere. Not always called the Anunnaki, but the Anunnaki, and then they have their servile species that could be the Nephilim, could be the giants, and then they take these primitive humans, give them just enough intelligence to mine the gold. It's part of the lore.
Modern rap music is making you retarded. I'm not really sure if I could say that, but whatever. I used to listen to rap music when I was younger, and I occasionally still do. But a while back, I took this fungus that grew in the dirt, and afterwards, I became hyper aware of how everything manipulated my subconscious brain. Because everything in your environment programs you, whether you're aware of it or not. And music is one of the most powerful forms of manipulation. If you listen to rap music every day, you probably smoke weed and have a bad relationship with women. If you listen to country, you probably drink beer and drive a truck. Maybe these are stereotypes, but maybe there's something to it. Our music used to be beautiful works of art, but I know I'm not the only one who feels like everything in our culture is being stripped of beauty. From the buildings, to the homes, to the art, to the music. All of this is done by design to get you to forget your ancestors and forget how intelligent they were. And I cannot sit here and watch the beauty of our world get lost to psychological warfare. Ask yourself, if we continue down this path, where will we end up? The only way to change the path we're on is not by everyone rejecting modernity, but only a few of us.
I'll tell you what, y'all. My life changed when I changed what I listened to and when I changed what I watched. That's when my life, right? I quit watching TV. I quit listening to certain type of rap. Now I still listen to music, to hip hop, not as much, y'all. On a scale from 1 to 10, I probably listen to music at a 2, right? When I'm driving in my car somewhere, like to get something to eat or something, I 9 times out of 10 got YouTube playing on my phone, watching, something, right? But that's when life changed for me, when I changed what I listen to and I changed what I watch, right? Like I love YouTube because I used to watch a lot of fish tank things. Guess what? I got me some fish tanks, picked up a new hobby. Right now I like watching like tools. People build stuff. So guess what? I like to go buy tools. I like to go to Harbor Freight, Lowe's, Home Depot, check out the tools, even if I don't buy nothing, right? So that's why I like YouTube. But I remember there was a Ice Cube song where it stuck with me when he said it. Television will keep you wishing forever you'll never get your life together, right? That little lyric, that quote, that stuck with me. I didn't understand it when I heard it, but for some reason when I heard that, it stuck with me. And now I understand it. When you watch TV, you don't get nothing from it. You don't get nothing, right? You don't learn. You don't do nothing. It's dead time, right? So change your music you listen to. You can still listen to hip hop. You can still listen to country. I don't really listen to country, so I don't know, but there's a lot of positive things out there. There's a lot of rappers with negative songs, but they also got positive songs, right? Now you get a lot of people saying rap is crap, rap is this. They're older, right? Remember what your parents thought of the music you listen to? Devil music, rock and roll, right? So just be mindful of that. For these kids that listen to this music, you're the same as your parents, you know what I mean? So, but there's a lot of positivity out there, y'all. You change what you listen to and change what you watch, your life will start changing.
Find out that they were planning on selling her meat on the dark web. This is one of the reasons why everybody needs to stay off the dark web. So this happened in 2020 in Missouri to this lady named Cassidy Rainwater. One day that year, she ends up going missing without a trace. Everybody around her that knew her was pretty much like, what the hell happened to her? People that knew her, they contact the police. The police end up doing a investigation trying to figure out what the hell happened to this lady and where did she go. They get an anonymous tip from someone who sends them an image. It's a picture of this lady, Cassidy Rainwater. She's in a cage and she's like partially naked. While they're doing all their research, it leads them to these two men that live in the same area. And one of the guys actually was pretty close to her. And he was this dude who she trusted, and he was helping her get on her feet. They get like a warrant to go inside these guys' houses, and when they go inside of their house, they're just finding a couple weird things that they're like, okay, this is weird, this is a little bit weird. And then one of the investigators was like, you know what, I want to check the fridge. To these people's surprise, they open the fridge, they find a whole bunch of meat that is packaged with a date on it. Pretty much the date was around the same time this girl Cassidy went missing. They end up taking these guys, they take them in. As they're in custody, they take all of these bags of meat and they start to scan it for the DNA and see what it is. It matches with Cassidy's DNA.
Damn.
These people end up interviewing them, they're interviewing the guys. They find out that they were planning on selling her meat on the dark web.
Really?
Yes, and that's why these guys chopped her up. And these guys had, like, I don't want to say a market of it, but there was guys online that wanted to
They got
buy.
clients.
Yes, and that's why they had that picture of her in the cage.
That's
basically
crazy,
like,
y'all.
when you see a cow,
Crazy.
they'll show a picture of it alive and be like, hey,
This is the cow we're selling.
this is the cow we're selling. They were doing that with this girl Cassidy. That's why they had her in that cage like that.
Have you had any experiences like outside where you felt like the PTSD?
I'm not all up in the head, but every single night, I wake up 5 to 7 times in a night and I clear my house. And I think somebody's breaking in my house. I'm not sleeping. I'm wide awake. It's not, sleepwalking, sleep terror. I'm wide awake. I spent a year, not a year, but like 7 months capturing people out of their beds at night. And I think that's probably the reason, but every single night I wake up 5 to 7 times, and I clear my house, armed or unarmed, doesn't matter. Like, I think somebody's breaking into my house.
Dude.
And so, yeah, when I lay in bed for 8 hours and I sleep for like 4 of those hours, and people are like, oh, you need a service dog? I'm like, yeah, because I need a dog to warn me if there's a real threat or not. So that's, to me, that's PTSD, but how it manifests in everyone is just different, man.
This is the most important mural that's ever been created in human history. It tells us everything. In this depiction, and I want to break it down, the two beings on the other end are the Anuna. That's why they have wings, and that's why the horns on their helmets have multiple horns that represent status. They're not kings, they're the beings that we think of as the Anuna, our creators. In this depiction, you're seeing our two Anuna on either side passing rulership, kingship, to rule over us, to two different individuals. One of them is a king, and one of them is a priest. Now notice those two beings with the wings, they're passing this. You see that? What they're passing is the symbol of the pine cone. And in their hand, they have the handbag. Remember Pillar 43 at Göbekli Tepe? It's got the same handbag symbol below it. The Anuna, they know all. They know everything in the universe. They are more powerful than we can ever understand. They seem to somehow be related to creation. They're passing the pine cone behind the head, pineal gland. They're passing the knowledge to the king and the priest for how to rule over humanity.
And he said, Ross, I know this is demonic. We shouldn't be having anything to do with it. It has no control systems, no control surfaces, no visible propulsion system, no dials, no levers, no buttons. It's a shell. It's operated by consciousness. That whatever this is something evil. And they use the words demonic. And I've had conversations with people in the US Air Force where they say, look, this is evil. We know we can't go there because it's bad, it's evil, it's demonic. And I'm saying,
I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble for talking about this, but he said one day he walks through the hall down there in the basement and the door's open. And he looked in there and here's a military man in a military uniform watching about 100 television sets that were on the walls. This is 1968.
wow.
And the guy says to him, hey, come on in, you want to see this? Well, you don't have somebody who doesn't know anything, who's not connected with the military, come in and watch a military operation. That just doesn't make any sense.
No.
And so my dad looks at these TVs on the wall, and he's like, what is this? It's just people walking around doing their business, everyday stuff. And he says, oh, we have cameras in every single television set that's sold. So when we need to keep an eye on someone, we can just dial into that set. 1968. Now we know that's happening now,
right,
with our smart TVs, but
They're all
back
made in
then,
China. Black SUV 7. Imagine you're like stoned out of your mind. You see that on your Wi-Fi. You're
School
hitting
class.
those windows.
So when I was growing up, kidnapping was like such a thing that me and all my friends, we had to like go to like, it was kind of like picture day, but it was record a video in case you're kidnapped day. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No. What the f- are you talking about?
Okay, so so everybody in my class.
What? In your class?
Yeah, like my school class in like second grade or whatever. We all had to go in and sit in front of a camera, and they recorded like, this is my name, this is my address, this is my phone number.
Sorry,
I'm this tall, I have, my features, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Picture my ass all paranoid looking out the window.
Yeah.
This is like giving a list of like, here's all the information you need to kidnap me.
No, but then you had the VHSs that you took them home,
You took
and
them
then
home.
if you ever got kidnapped, that was what was sent into Action News to play. Missing child, Mrs. Pearlmania is missing, and then they'd play this VHS on the news, and so you'd like, this is the little child they're looking for, and so we all had these VHSs. You guys didn't have these?
No. Oh my God. You lived in a war zone.
All right, family. There you have today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You know what to do. You made it this far. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm surprised the baby let me do the whole video, y'all. He went to sleep. He's been asleep, and I'm loving it, y'all. So I got time to edit it, upload it, get it out to you guys. Then I got to go back to dad duty, y'all. But I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out what to do on my second channel. I honestly, right now, I don't have time. I'm constantly, I got the baby. Like, maybe I can do, like, on the weekends, record 3 or 4 videos to put out. That might be my best bet, little 30-minute videos. But yesterday it kind of hit me when I was looking for the clips for today's video. I get a lot of clips that are on that are very, very good clips, but they're 10 minutes long, right? I can't put a 10-minute clip on here. It's you guys won't, it'd be too much. I'd only have like 5 videos, right? So I was thinking on my second channel, it'll be this genre, but it'll be longer clips. So maybe like 3 10-minute clips, or sometimes there's even a 20-minute clip, something like that. I'm thinking of doing that on my second channel, y'all. Let me know down below. It'll be the same type of videos, right? These types of genres, the conspiracy, the news happening now, things like that. But they'll be longer clips, and there'll only be like, I don't know, 3 or 4 clips for right now. Once it starts getting some momentum, maybe we'll make them into hour clips. But let me know what you guys think of that. I think that'd be pretty good. Like, it's the same type of videos, but it's just a longer form clip. Instead of a minute clip or 30-second clip, it'll be an 8 to 10-minute clip, because there's a lot of great clips out there, but they're just too long, and I'm like, man, I can't put that out. So let me know down below what you guys think of that. But anyways, y'all, I got to get this video edited. I got to get it uploaded to you guys. This is Segovia. I'm signing out of the Man Cave. I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow on the next one. Later.